Although right after the election, when I won't say congratulate, but President Biden gave a speech essentially about Donald Trump becoming president in that transition phase, there were no misses when he was speaking. There was no fumbling, no stuttering. So y'all think about that, what you want to think about. But he spoke. Everything I saw, he was just fine. We didn't know how frail Joe Biden would appear at the debate, but maybe others did know. What other people did know? If you're talking about these are the people, never mind, who have this type of power. He said, referring to Biden's disastrous debate performance that led to him stepping aside. Simmons also argued that he believed Biden's team could have done a better job blunting Republican attacks against Harris long before she became the nominee. What? She's the vice president. She can run for vice president. This is what, like, if you go take shots at JD Vance, like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, he's not the president. People don't vote. People don't care that much really who the vice president is. As far as talking about the low information voters aren't that worried about who the vice president is. How many people do you really think know anything about Tim Walz that voted for the Harris Walz ticket? I mean, even who just voted at all at the federal for the president. You really voted for RK. Most people don't know anything about Tim Walz. The problem with the Harris campaign were long simmering. They weren't problems of the last 100 days. He said the Biden White House should have been advertising on her behalf much earlier to counteract the sustained assault Republicans have been waging against her online and on television for years. I just said 120 days is 6 months. That's 4 months, whatever. It was a couple since June. It was a couple, since July, whatever. It was a couple months, 100 days. All right, that's how long the campaign was. Now, I mean, Biden already said he was going to run, and it seems like he more so got pushed out. So that President Biden, he couldn't run again as the incumbent. And now they're just saying that, it really is Biden's fault. It's not. I mean, we did a great job as the campaign with the situation we were in. Sure, raising over $1 billion. I don't know if they raised, like I said, I believe a lot of money, if not all of Biden's money, went over to her because kind of sitting in the pot for whoever's going to run on the Democratic ticket. But I wouldn't just shifting the blame over to Biden. It's like, is Vice President Harris going to run again in 4 years? That's the only question. That's the question. Nothing else should be a question, really. Admit defeat. Start focusing on what you need to do in the next 2 years, because we're going to vote again. If y'all forgot, we vote every 2 years, not every 4. Well, what you're gonna do to get back some of Congress, right? I think a lot of people are missing that. Do what you can to flip those seats back in the Senate to block all the things essentially that you're complaining about, and at least have some prowess, in the federal government. And then obviously in another 2 years after, so in 4 years, what is it going to look like? Because a lot of people, when we have, 2014, 15 going into 16, when we know that that both parties are going to have to put up somebody new on the primary, those things, we start figuring that out some years in advance. If it's not as clear cut, that you can pretty much know that JD Vance is going to be running for president. This presidency has to go terrible for him not to end up being on that ticket, or he has to now decide that he's not going to do it. But I'd be shocked if he does that. But we're going to, in 2026, 2027, right, at the latest, but don't be surprised if in 2026, which is, roughly a year away, by the way, because we're at the end of 2024, we're going to start, seeing some traffic on who's going to be running as far as in the primaries for both parties. I mean, that just is how it is. It'll probably be right around, 2 years from now, because the midterm elections will have commenced when we vote in 2 years. But it's going to be time to start seeing, okay, who's going to start running. And since the Democrats are saying, in short, only if Vice President Harris had more time, then Democrats got to be on it. Like, where's the initiative at? I've been saying this. Where has the initiative been for the Democrats on the federal level for the midterm election, not just a general election? Like, where are the Congress people lined up? Where are the senators lined up that they want to flip the seats back? Who are those people, right? Who are the people in the House that they want to flip back and gain even more seats, flip the seats that they lost and then gain even more? Who are those people? Now, from a representative standpoint, there's so many of them, there's 435 of them, right? That's, not going to probably be getting that much information on a national level. But for senators, yeah, who are the senators? They lost 4 or 5 seats or something like that. I can't remember how many they lost, but who are those people that they have lined up so they can get this done? We saw how AOC, her promotion went 4 years ago, I believe. when she ended up getting elected for the first time. But where are those people at for the Democratic Party? Like, no one is talking about that. And then everyone's just like shocked why people just got so swept and won't accept that. Most people are conservative, whether they vote conservative or not. Most people have conservative values. That just is what it is. And Democrats really got to, retool and look at how they can get some more footing. Because the one thing I saw too, there are people who voted for Trump, but they didn't know that Obamacare and ACA, the Affordable Care Act, it was the same thing. And I said, I didn't see everything that the Harris Walz campaign did, but I saw a lot of it. I don't ever recall seeing anything, whether it's an ad or Vice President Harris or Governor Walz speaking during this campaign run. I don't remember seeing anything how they were going to keep Obamacare intact, or how, I heard people talking about President Trump getting rid of Obamacare, retooling, right? Is that the one where he said, I have concepts of a plan, but I don't remember seeing anything from the Harris Walz campaign on really pushing how they're going to make sure Obamacare stays in place, or the Affordable Care Act, or what they're going to even do to expand upon. I don't remember. A big push was the termination, right? Pregnancies was ensured, the 25 percenters, that type of stuff, and then I know how President Trump is a bad person. That's what a lot of stuff was. But then people get out here and they're talking about all these things that President Trump is going to look to change, and that would negatively impact you. Well, what were the counterpoints from the Harris Walz campaign to that? I think that's what people don't understand. You have to then speak against it if it's something that you don't want, and what you're going to do to either have another plan or keep something in place, because they're talking about repealing something. The extent of the Harris campaign spending and debt isn't immediately clear, though they will be post campaign filing December 5th. So I guess I knew there was a reason I should have waited. So we still got to wait to get something official. So early December, so it'll be after Thanksgiving. While the Harris campaign is learning hard lessons from the election, members of the party also think things they did well. The Oprah interview was a very creative experiment. Saying an Oprah interview in 2024 was creative experiment. It's Oprah. Isn't Oprah the GOAT? Isn't she the greatest talk? Is she not the greatest talk show host of all time? Like, isn't that Oprah? You get a car. Like, it's Oprah. It was a creative experiment in direct-to-consumer political productions, and there are costs associated with that. What? Caitlin Legak, Democratic strategist and former senior advisor to Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo, wrote on social media, I would expect to see more of this type of thing in the future rather than less, and think it was a steal for $1 million production cost. So I guess they're confirming that Oprah, maybe not Oprah got $1 million, but it spent $1 million in production costs for the Oprah interview. I would say this: if you think it was better for Vice President Harris to go on the interview with Oprah versus President Trump doing an interview with Joe Rogan, you are not aware of the current times. Shout out to Oprah. Joe Rogan is not Oprah, but when it comes to interviewing / podcasting, Joe Rogan is Oprah. Now that Oprah is just transitioning. If Oprah would have kept doing what she was doing and then transitioned, then it'd be a different conversation. But come on now, y'all. I mean, that's Joe Rogan. What are we talking about? Harris campaign spending comes under scrutiny again by Carolyn McKeel and Julia Manchester, 11/19/2024. This is on the Hill. Again, the Hill was saying, they're nonpartisan. Again, they're saying the Harris campaign is roughly 20 million or so in the red, but we won't know officially until roughly December 5th when that campaign filing is actually done. Ooh, my bad, y'all. All right, I haven't done that in a while. Let's get into it, y'all. Necessity, debt payments, investments, lifestyle. Again, do everything you can to put in the work to create the life that you want. And to get more and more in a position where whoever's in office at the federal level, even at the state level, can't, from your perspective, have so much control over your life. It's like paying off my student loans last year, 4 years ago. And they talking about student loans. Like, I don't have any student loan debt. So this is not something that I care about, because I need something else for you to get my vote. I don't have student loan debt. I think that is something that both parties need to always understand and continue to understand, is that you are trying to secure votes. And the whole point of me voting for you is in exchange for something, not just to vote for you because, you're a registered Democrat or an independent or Republican or whatever you are, is to get something for your vote in exchange of your vote. And there are more people who are wishing negative things, in short, like to occur, and not negative things in the sense of you disagree with policies and these policies will get put in place and bad things will happen from your perspective, but like just wanting for the country to go backwards, in short, as far as like, they want President Trump to get in here and they want stuff to get worse. We don't want things to get worse. We want people to have more jobs. We want a better economy. We want to have less wars. We want all these things for our country to move forward. I don't care whoever gets elected. If it's President Trump or it's President Biden, President Obama, President Bush, right? President Clinton as well. But those four presidents I just mentioned were all the presidents in my lifetime, as far as me like being, aware of things. I don't care who is in office. I want things to go forward. Same thing at the local level. Like we had Governor Hogan, right? The last 8 years or so. Well, technically 10 years because Governor Westmore has been, I think 2 years. Oh, time flies. I think it's been 2 years. Goodness gracious, it's hard for me to keep up. Anyways, we had Governor Hogan. He was on the ticket this year for us to vote in him as a senator. But as Maryland, we voted in Senator, I think it's also Brooks. Yeah, Senator also Brooks. I think it's Maryland's first time having a black either black senator or black female senator, right? So a governor, the general sentiment for Larry Hogan that he was a pretty good governor, but even when he's running for senator for the state that he governed, that's not how we voted as far as in the state of Maryland overall. And that's just how things are. And that's the one thing people are complaining about that. And what is it? In North Carolina got a blue governor, but the state went red. It's like, what are you talking about? Maryland had a red governor when Hogan was governor, and we went blue. So something, and that's the thing too in the media. People complain that North Carolina went red. They voted. The state went for Trump, but then they have a blue governor. Maryland has been going blue back to Clinton, maybe even past that. And we've had red governors that during that time period. So those are the things also too when you're seeing them say things. It's like, is the logic that the party that your governor resides in should also be where you should vote at the federal level? What type of logic is that? That there might be some consistency among that, but then that would defeat the whole point of having these primaries and having these elections. You just count up the states where the governors are and you go forward with that. Also, if that was the case, then Vice President Harris should have picked the governor of Pennsylvania, right? Is Pennsylvania governor? Are they blue? I don't know. But anyways, all right, y'all, that's it. Remember to comment, like, share, and subscribe. Shout out to YouTube algorithm, my rants. Make sure you leave those rating reviews on the podcast platforms as well. I can hear my son, so I got to wrap up. My information as well as your information can be found in the description on YouTube. Again, I'm going to make sure that the recordings keep going. I'm getting stuff is winding down on things I have to do. And I'm going to try to get that taken out of context when I'm reacting to the social media posts out for y'all. All right. Remember to save more and say less. Keep making better your best. And I'll catch y'all in the next one.